sides and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Well, actually, we're going to do the national anthem, so please stay standing just for a second.
Everybody, I'm Neil McCabe. I'm with One America News. We're going to be taking it live in about 60 seconds. So go ahead and take your seats. We're 1 minute out, so go ahead and sit. I'm going to tell you when we go live, and then I want a big round of applause and noise when we go live. And there's going to be an opening video, and we're very excited to have you here. To the video. To the One America News presentation of the We Build the Wall town hall meeting live in Detroit. Hey, everybody. So keep it chanting so the people at home know you're here. All right, fantastic.
They don't even give a crap.
Hi, we have Pastor Tim Berlin here who's going to lead us in a prayer.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the wonderful privilege to come into your presence with thanksgiving and into your courts with praise. We thank you for the wonderful country that you allow us to live in and the freedoms that we enjoy. Thank you for blessing America. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the freedom to run an event like this. Thank you for those who are supporting it. And Heavenly Father, I pray that today that you would be exalted in all things. We thank you, Heavenly Father, that we are one nation under God. And may we remember that you are our sovereign and that you have dictated to us exactly how a country ought to run. And we thank you for the opportunity tonight to have a rally like this. May your blessings be upon it, for we pray this in our Savior's name. Amen.
Thank you.
Don't be nervous. You're good, man. You got it.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer Lawrence is going to be handling questions later on. But tonight we have some MAGA all-stars, and probably the biggest MAGA superstar is Joy Villa, and she's going to come out and sing our national anthem. Joy?
No. Okay. Is my mic on? Try the mic. Where's your mic? My mic's not on.
How are you guys doing? Woo, I feel it.
It's not on.
I feel the energy in this crowd.
Go tell them to turn my mic on.
Turn Brian's mic on.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let me see your mic.
Everybody's standing.
Enjoy.
Oh, wait, hold on. You want to see the mic?
Now, I can give you guys all 3 good reasons why we stand for that flag.
That's right. That's right. He can. This man knows what he's talking about. Thank you.
Okay. Huh?
I'm just going to do a little soulful from the heart a cappella rendition. Is that okay with you guys? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we held were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. It was still there. That's right. And it is still here. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless America.
Thank you very much, Joy. But before you go, Joy, though, what are you hearing from people about whether or not a wall should be built on the southern border and this emergency that the president's declared?
Well, I would say, first, everyone can sit now, right?
Please be seated.
Thank you. These are real Americans. They will stand to the bitter end. They will not tire for that flag, for our veterans who serve, for this country. I would say, I live in Hollywood, right? Boo, I live in Hollywood. Somebody's got to live there. And I hear a lot of misinformation. I hear a lot of people who don't understand that a border means protection. Protection means the safety of every citizen. It is not about keeping people out because they have brown skin or because they're from a different country. It's about protecting the people who come here legally. Come here legally. It's about us here and about being proud to protect our nation and support a country and an administration that does that. And many people who say the wall is racist, they don't understand it, it's bad, it's whatever they want to put that ism on there, they don't know the facts. And unfortunately, we have a lot of these people who are in office around the country. We have leadership in this nation, Congress people, we have celebrities, we have media pundits who have no idea the hardship that our nation has endured for hundreds of years, right? To be the safest and most incredible and powerful nation on this planet right now, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you very much. That was money. Joyville, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're good. Brian, come on over.
Thanks. We got a little out of order here on this, but we have Joe Castillo from Sterling Heights, and he is going to do the pledge. I'll give that to you.
All right. Hello? Oh, great. You're all standing. That's so great. Oh, no one's kneeling. That's great. I know. You're the good people. All right. So I'd ask that you'd all put your hand on your heart and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you take that back? Take that one back, yeah. Can you let him?
All right, well, we're here tonight to talk about border security and the emergency on the southern border. And this event is sponsored and organized by We Build the Wall. And we have the founder of We Build the Wall with us, Brian Kolfage. Brian, how are you?
Good. Take that. I don't need that. Thanks.
So, Brian, I never get tired of this story. So why don't you tell me about where you were? You were in front of your computer one night, and you got an idea that really kicked this thing off. How did it start?
Well, it was, I think, around December 20th or the 19th. I can't remember, but I was sitting at home and pissed off. And
Careful.
Calm down. I was angry at the way things were going with our politicians, and it didn't seem like they cared about following through on a promise that they all made to us. And it's a promise that's been made over 30 years or more now. And I decided maybe I could be that one person that makes a difference. I'm just one person. A lot of people before me tried doing the GoFundMe, and they just didn't have the effect. I don't know, for some reason it didn't take off. I created it one night. I told my friends, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create it, set the bar high, tell everyone that we'll refund their money if we don't get the mark. And the next day, rolled it out. I sent it out to all the media, and instantly just blew up like that. And everyone, everyone out here, and everyone in America, it just took off, and people started donating, and it gave them an avenue to have their voices heard. They could speak by giving donations, and by giving those donations, their voices were being heard by the people in D.C., and it just snowballed into a gigantic movement, and here we are today now.
Yeah, and as you travel around, I know you've made a number of visits to the border. What is it that you've learned from your own visits to the border, not only about the security crisis there, but really how practical is it to build a wall?
Well, I mean, it's practical, but as we're going to go later on with Brandon Darby, what goes on in each sector, in each section, what works in one section of the border doesn't work in the next section. There's not an open box solution for this problem. And when we went down to the border, and we went with you and our other board members, and it was the first time I went down to the border and saw that. And what we saw,
McAllen, Texas.
Yeah, McAllen, Texas. And we went into an area where President Trump was, where CNN was. But when CNN and President Trump go there, Border Patrol locks it down. They lock it down, and the cartels lock it down so they don't look bad. But we snuck into this area, and it's basically like a DMZ zone where it's no man's land. No one's allowed in there. We got in there, and it was chaos. It was migrants running wild in there, just coming across unchecked. We ran into over 40 over 40 individuals easily who were coming across, not even being stopped. They were looking for Border Patrol. They weren't trying to hide. They were looking to Border Patrol so they could abuse our asylum laws. And they had no right claiming asylum. Economic asylum is not a privilege here. Political asylum is. And these people are abusing it, and that's what we learned. And they were coming across just normal people. They had hard times, yeah. You've got to be compassionate for them, but they're breaking the law.
They literally asked us, can you point us to Border Patrol? Because they chase Border Patrol. Border Patrol doesn't chase them.
Yeah, they were chasing the Border Patrol agents, running them down. It's just insane. And the media doesn't know that because they're not allowed in this zone. And the people don't know it because the media is not reporting on it because the media has become weaponized to tell whatever they want you to know.
So we're going to bring out the man who's our tour guide at the border, Brandon Darby, who is the editor of Breitbart, Texas. Brandon?
What's up, Bob?
Good evening. Yeah, It's great to see everyone here. It's really good. I really appreciate you coming and caring about this issue.
And we're going to be bringing on some other guests in a little while, but why don't you sort of talk about specifically what is the mission of Border Patrol and what are these guys up against on the border?
Well, that's a long, tricky answer needed for that. There's a lot of things that Border Patrol does or do, but basically the thing to keep in mind is that Border Patrol agents are there to protect our borders, right? Some of them work in urban environments, some of them work in comfortable situations, some of them work in very dangerous environments, very uncomfortable situations. Some of them work in remote areas where it could take up to 45 minutes for them to get back up, and they're out there alone. Some of them work on stretches of our border that where their radios don't work, but they're out there alone, and it's really scary. So one of the things I like to do is I like to bring politicians to the border, and then I tell them they have to ditch their detail and that we have to go out at 3 in the morning, and they get to feel what it feels like to be a Border Patrol agent. They get to feel what those agents feel. And so I've been really blessed to have a lot of friends who are agents. Obviously, with what I do, I travel all 9 sectors of the southwest border. I visit the places that are peaceful and nice, and I visit the places that are really dangerous. And all I've done for about the last decade is I listen to Border Patrol agents. They tell me what's really going on, and then I give a platform to their voices. And I make sure that you people get to know what they're experiencing and what they're seeing, and not through the political filters of DHS or any administration, but just straight from the mouths of Border Patrol agents.
And in December of 2010, there was a very special Border Patrol agent, Brian Terry, who was killed on the borderlands. Maybe sort of give us a quick, for those people who don't know who Brian Terry was, how would you describe him to people?
Well, I'm going to let his family, who's coming out shortly after me, talk more about Brian Terry, Border Patrol agent Terry. But I will tell you that he was part of a team who was in a very remote area outside of a town called Rio Rico in Arizona, in a trafficking corridor called the Pet Canyon Corridor. And it's very, very remote. There's no border walls south of there. The corridor leads straight from an area controlled by part of the Sinaloa cartel called Los Mimos, which none of you have probably heard about, but you should. It's not your fault that you haven't. And it's a heavy trafficked corridor. And one of the problems out there is it's not just the cartels bringing drugs through, but U.S. gangs and U.S. criminals go out there, prison gangs go out there, and they're out there to rip off cartel drug loads. So it's very unsafe for us, it's very unsafe for Border Patrol agents, and it's unsafe for everyone else involved. However, you know, you hear that the border is safe, everything's fine, but that's a lie. It's not true. But he was killed on a mission out there to interdict those groups in a very remote area.
I think now we're going to bring out the brother and sister of Brian Terry, Kent Terry, and his sister, Kelly Terry Willis. Guys, please.
The chair height.
Go ahead.
Bring it in.
Thank you.
So Kelly, Tent, your brother served in the Marines, and he deployed, and when he came home, he wanted to continue serving. Sort of talk about that job and how he loved it on the border.
Well, since Brian was a young age, he always wanted to be a man in uniform. So his biggest thing is he wanted to protect the American people on American soil. So he was a Marine, and then he was a police officer in 2 cities just south of here, about 15 minutes. And then he wanted to do something more, so he became a Border Patrol agent.
And so when he passed, How soon after he was killed did you find out about the truth about the weapon that killed him and the way the government was handling that?
Well, we had our intuition something wasn't right when we found out about Brian's death, because Brian laid out there in the desert. They call it a lay-in, and they would go out in the desert. They're elite part of the, let me back up here. They're elite part of the Border Patrol. They're called BORTEC. They're kind of similar to like the Navy SEALs of the government. And Brian would lay out in the desert for days at a time, in all kinds of, weather, 17 degrees to 100 degrees. He'd be out there for days at a time. He wouldn't come home. But that night when he got killed, we kind of had a bad feeling that something wasn't right, because right away we just started getting cover-ups about questions we were asking. And then we really didn't know about the scandal, Fast and Furious, and the guns going south across the border until Cheryl Atkinson released the story in April, and that's when we found out.
And in that time, you've also founded the Terry Foundation. What is the mission of the Terry Foundation, and how can people get involved in what you guys are doing, especially with your scholarships?
The Brian Terry Foundation is actually on brianterry.com. And what we do is we raise funds for, sadly, that's the sad part, is other families who have lost an agent in the line of duty. And on the flip side of it, the fun part is we raise funds to send young kids to college that are going into the criminal justice field. So as of today, we've given out 60 scholarships.
I don't know if it's presuming too much, but I think that you are vested in the safety of the border. And so talk about how you think the president's message on the border, how does that resonate with you? Does he got it? I mean, is he doing what he's supposed to do?
I think he's doing what he's supposed to do 100%. I think what infuriates us is that we lost a brother on the border by five illegals that were involved in his death. I think the thing that infuriates us the most is how far the left wants to make it look like, and the media, the border's safe, we're all safe. But what they don't realize is that the people that killed Brian, they came 500 miles and came through a remote area of the border where Brian was killed. They didn't just walk in, they walked in with AK-47s. And then after Brian was killed, taking his last breath, they walked back over that border like it was the easiest thing to do. But the thing that we just learned at one of the trials was they were in that exact same spot 1 month prior to Brian's death.
Was there anything else, Kent, that you wanted to share with us tonight?
Well, like she said, it's just not about illegals coming across. These people are making tremendous amounts of money. Like the RIP crews, they're coming across here robbing drug loads, and they're getting $7,000 to $10,000 a load in one night, and within a 4 or 5 hour shift they're doing. And the thing is, they're doing this daily, and like my sister said, and then they run back to Mexico on an open border, and then only to get up in the next morning to do it all over again. So it's just not about legal. It's a big money thing for the cartels. And like I said, the ones that killed Brian actually worked for Sinaloa cartels, which is right across the border. And as you all know, that El Chapo story and stuff like that. But it's a money thing. And they're taking that money back home, and they're not keeping it here. And that's what's really the sad part.
At the risk of costing an American their life.
Oh.
I want to say something about this. First off, it's an honor to be on the stage with you all. I visited where your brother was murdered many times to try to honor him and the agents he worked with. I want you all to think about this. When media folks tell you that the border is secure, there are some parts that are safe, but I want you to think about this. There are places along our border where people can cross, and we're not talking about migrants and women and children crossing, and this is a separate thing. We're talking about places in remote areas that anyone can walk across and do what happened to their brother. and anyone does walk across, people who work for Mexican cartels come across those places on the border in remote areas. I want you to really think about that the next time you hear that the border is safe, the border's fine, everything's okay, we don't need a barrier. Well, clearly we do.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kent.
Thanks, man. Well, I told you we have some MAGA All-Stars tonight. Please give a big welcome to Sheriff David Clarke. Brian? So, Brian, what does it mean to have a guy like this on your team?
He's a rock star. Well, besides him being a rock star, he's a trained man. He's a trained warrior. He's been law enforcement his entire life. He's had his boots on the ground. He knows the problems. He's faced them daily, and he brings a wealth of knowledge to this team. And we're honored to have him. And obviously, America loves him.
Thank you. Are these people cool or what?
Yeah, they're all right.
These are, and I'm not a rock star. What I am is I'm a foot soldier for freedom and liberty in the United States of America.
So, Sheriff, you spent 40 years in law enforcement in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, which people don't think of as a border town, and people now say every town is a border town. But if you could just sort of talk about when it was that you as a law enforcement and professional started seeing the illegal crossings really starting to affect your life and the life of your officers.
Sure, and as this thing goes on, it's going to become worse for everybody, not only in this room, but worse for everybody in America. And that's why that phrase came along, every town's a border town, because this stuff is starting to seep into every community in the United States. I was down at the border about a month ago, and I saw what was happening, and I was shocked at what was happening right before my eyes, and I stood there helpless. I'm a law enforcement guy, I'm a cop, and you're usually able to go out and use your training and your tools and your authority to do something about a problem, and I couldn't do anything about it. Let me tell you a quick story. I was being interviewed one day by somebody about this broken immigration system. They said, Sheriff, what 3 things do we need to do to begin to fix this broken immigration system? They said, number 1, I said, seal the border. They said, number 2, I said, seal the border. They said, number 3, I said, seal the damn border. Because until we seal the border, and I mean really seal the border, then we can begin to fix the other aspects of this very complex problem, right? With our asylum laws, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter how many people we deport out of the United States, they're coming right back in, and we've seen those stories. You've heard about those stories. And when it started to get my attention in Milwaukee County was when I started to see some of the crime that was going on that was committed by illegal aliens. And people would say to me, well, American citizens commit crimes too. I said, but I can't kick them out of the country. All right? And then when I started to see the deaths as a result of the illegal drugs coming into this country, the opioid crisis, the fentanyl deaths, and you know what? The fentanyl is starting to affect first responders too, because when they're responding to these cases of an overdose and they come into contact with this stuff, it's deadly and it's going to impact them. So, there's basically 3 reasons why we need to fix this broken immigration system. It starts with sealing the border. Number 1, you have your domestic and national security issues. All right, you know about the MS-13 gangs that are coming into the United States. You've heard about the drugs. Listen to this. In fiscal year 2018, 330 pounds of fentanyl were seized coming across the border. Now think of the stuff that got in, but that 330 pounds is enough to kill 73 million Americans. Think about that. The other reason that we need to seal the border is to prevent the spread of infectious diseases. We're starting to see diseases return to this population and creep up in the United States that weren't here or that we had under control. And the third reason, and this is the one that really gets people, but I don't care, but we need to control the influx of another country's ne'er-do-wells. These are people who are coming in, many of them. They're coming in, they're getting onto our social services, they're a strain on our school systems and the budgets, a strain on our health system, and they're not coming here to participate and work hard. Not all of them, but a lot of them, and one is too many. So those are the three reasons that we need to do this. But you know what? It starts with you. It starts with you at the grassroots, because Washington, they do not fix problems in Washington, D.C. and Congress. They extend problems. They kick them down the road. They run on them. They try to raise money, but they're not there to solve it. The only person in Washington, D.C. that has a sense of urgency about this and that gets it is President Donald Trump.
So, with Sheriff Clarke here, Brian, there's a story you were telling me about, when you were, talking to people in Arizona,
right,
and how this border is affecting them, and basically, the police can't be everywhere. So,
right,
talk about what you saw down in Arizona, the stories you heard.
Well, when we were down there and talking to some of these ranchers, and some are just not ranchers, just citizens, it's heartbreaking because they said they feel neglected for the last 30 years. And you don't hear that in the news. And not only that, when they go to the grocery store, they don't lock their doors, or they don't, lock their windows. But they don't do that because it's safe. They do it because it's cheaper for them to leave them open, so criminals just open the door rather than kick their door down or break a window. And this is the United States, and these people have to leave their houses open. They have to act like that to bow down to these criminals. It's outrageous that that's how they live down there. This should not be happening in our country.
And Sheriff Clarke, the sanctuary movement was supposed to have been stopped. There was great, sort of uproar about these sanctuary cities. Can you just sort of explain to people legally what a sanctuary city does, and how that affects the enforcement of the immigration laws?
Sure. First of all, sanctuary cities, sanctuary counties, sanctuary states are a violation of U.S. sovereignty, and they're a violation of the Supremacy Clause, the rule of law. What it does, ladies and gentlemen, and you know this, what it does is it renders you second-class citizens within your own damn community. Think about that for a minute. Because in many instances, these individuals have more rights than you. They're receiving more services, money that's coming out of your pocket, instead of going into your community for your kids for better schools, for some of the other things, the roads and so on and so forth, public services that you're paying for. It's going to pay for this population that has no business in the United States of America. There's a way to come through, and the president has talked about that. It's to come through the right way, come through the front door. And we've been more than happy to welcome you. But we cannot allow people to trespass into the United States of America and set up residency, all right? They're not immigrants, they're trespassers.
Well, I don't even think they're trespassers, Sheriff. I mean, they're breaking federal law. It's a felony to come across. I mean.
Brian, you were saying before that before tonight's meeting that it's not just immigrants coming over, it's the drug cartels, it's
right,
human trafficking, and so how do you see the wall as sort of your contribution to battling that?
Well, I think a wall has been proven to work in Israel. A company named Magal, who we've consulted with now, and they're helping us with our wall. When they built the Israeli wall on the Egyptian side, and it was proven 99.9% effective within a few months of actually building it. It worked so well, the Israeli wall worked so well that the Egyptians contacted this company, and they wanted their wall. It worked so well that now We Build the Wall has contacted this company, and they're working with us to build this wall. So,
And so you were telling, when people say smart wall, what is a smart wall? Can it do someone's homework?
It might. I mean, you think about a barrier system, a wall. A wall doesn't stop everything. You need a multi-tiered system that is effective on has many different layers of security. When I was in the Air Force, I worked with physical security, specifically walls and fences. That was part of my job. And when we're going down there and modeling after what the Israelis did, they have a fence. This fence is just a chain link fence, or it's like a chain link fence. You know, we're not going to be doing that, but they have sensors in these where if someone touches that fence, they instantly know that's a human touching that. They know it's not a piece of trash. They know it's not an animal, and it takes a picture within every 30, I think it's every 50 feet, there might be a camera, and it snags a photograph of that person touching it. And it's intuitive. There's a lot of technology goes into it. They have sensors they put into the ground. They run a fiber optic cable underground that can detect vibration from digging, and they can fine tune these so that it knows the type of vibration. And it goes pretty deep. Like they can detect 40 feet down, I believe. And this is the type of technology. So when you have these multi-tiered systems coming together to form one barrier, you have a very effective system to stop people and stop these traffickers and stop people trying to come across illegally. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and Sheriff Clarke, you sort of talk about how does a wall help specifically law enforcement as a force multiplier?
All right, you know, the border is pretty expansive, right? The southern border, a little over 2,000 miles. And you don't have enough Border Patrol agents to properly staff it like you would your community with law enforcement officers, and they base it on population, right? There's no way to do that. So they're basically, the Border Patrol are doing a damn good job. When I went down to visit them, the men and women who put on their country's uniform to defend us, but they're drinking water from a fire hose. It's too vast. It's too expansive to have effective patrols and effective countermeasures to deal with people coming across. So what a barrier does, what a wall does, is it'll force people to go around to choke points, to areas where you funnel them through, and that's where you take your limited resources of Border Patrol and law enforcement, and then you can better capture these individuals as they're coming across. Instead of giving them 2,000 miles to cross, you only give them a few. All right, that's the importance, the effectiveness of the physical barrier, the physical wall. And then, as Brian indicated, there are some other things that are needed. We all get that. All right, but the biggest thing right now is the border's not sealed, and until it's properly sealed, we can talk about these other things that need to be done with illegal immigration, but it's not going to matter because they're still going to keep flowing over the border. One thing about the American people, and this is where you come in, Americans will step forward in a time of crisis. They're willing to help out. For instance, natural disasters, right? Earthquakes, floods, the fires in California, hurricanes, tornadoes. Americans step up to help other Americans. We're going to get something done. In Washington, D.C., all they do is talk about border security. All they do is talk about it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to need your help. Americans helping Americans.
Go ahead, Brian.
And when the sheriff talks about help, I mean, one thing that is very important. A lot of people think that this GoFundMe has stopped. The media lied and said the GoFundMe's done. It's refunding all the money. That's not true. It's still going on. The GoFundMe has not stopped accepting donations. We've never been in any bad light with GoFundMe. We've worked with GoFundMe this entire process. Now, anyone watching this on the OAN network, or if you're watching it on YouTube, get the word out that this GoFundMe is still going on. We're still accepting donations. The only thing that's going to stop us from building a wall is these donations. We have enough to slap up a lot of wall, but when those donations run out, that's when we run out. So it's very important for people to keep giving. One thing to note that we raised $2 million off of $5 donations. So people who gave just a single $5 bill, we raised $2 million off that. And when you think that you can't make a difference, you can make a difference off $5. Just like I made the difference off just thinking I couldn't have an impact. And one day I created a GoFundMe, and it's evolved into this. Everyone can have an impact. You just got to take that step. Give $5.
All right, so we're gonna bring out another mega all-star. Please welcome former Colorado Republican Congressman Tom Tancredo. Hey there, Congressman. Hey, good to see you. Sure, Clarke. Why don't you switch chairs? You guys switch? Okay, great. Yeah, just sort of switch out so you can sit next to Brian.
I don't bite, Tom. Come on. I won't bite you.
How you been, Congressman?
I'm well. Let me say, first of all, that
His mic's.
he may not think.
It's on now.
Okay. He may not think he's a rock star, but I'll tell you, in my book, he is an American hero. A true live one, right in front of you.
Thanks.
So, Congressman, today, 12 Republican senators voted against the president's national emergency.
Oh, no, you can't mean that.
You were a Republican congressman trying to talk about border security without really talking about what happened with the president's emergency and the vote today in the Senate. Just sort of talk about how difficult it was for you personally to get this message across.
Well, sure. I came into Congress in 1998 with this issue. It was my signature issue, my raison d'etre for being in Congress. And I thought there would be other members, at least of my own caucus, the Republicans, that would be supportive. I was, in very short order, made aware of the fact that that was absolutely not true. I couldn't get members of Congress on my own side to listen for 5 minutes to any discussion we ever had about this issue. They would shy away from it, and literally, when I'm walking down the hall, they would like move to the other side and think, he's going to ask me about immigration, and I don't want to talk about it. And let me tell you, the pressure on both sides, I used to always say, there are two major obstacles to getting anything done in Congress, anything significant done, about the issue of illegal immigration. There are two problems. One is the Democrat Party. They look at massive immigration, both legal and illegal, as a source of voters. The other problem is the Republican Party that looks at that same phenomena, looks at massive immigration, both legal and illegal, as a source of cheap labor. Hence, you've got this block that stops you at every single point. And if you don't think it's powerful, let me tell you, there was I'll never forget, among the many things that happened to me, but certainly points out the problems you face as a Republican. I became aware of, not too long before I left Congress, I became aware of the amount of money that was being sent back to Mexico by Mexican citizens here, mostly illegal, in the form of remittances. It was about $25 billion a year, okay, that was being sent back from Mexicans to Mexico. So I thought, well, you know, if we really want to do something, in fact, if you want to pay for the wall and if you want Mexico to do it, you tax the remittances, right? It's a simple fact. Take the money away. So I suggested that. I just made a suggestion. I said, why don't we do that? Let's tax the remittances. That's $25 billion a year. Take 10% of that. Well, it wasn't 10 minutes later, I got this call from a county commissioner in my district who said, you know, I just got a call from the CEO of something called First Data, which happened to be the largest employer in the district at the time. And they said that if you keep this up, they're going to move out of the district. And I said, First Data, I mean, I frankly wasn't even aware of who they were, what they did. I became aware of it shortly because, in fact, First Data, although it deals with transfer of money from in terms of Visa and that sort of thing, they also had a subsidiary business. It's called Western Union. And from Western Union, they made millions of dollars every year from the remittances that were being sent back. And so this was a Republican group, right? This was a CEO who was supposed to be a strong Republican, who was threatening to move out of the district if I kept it up. Well, I did keep it up, as a matter of fact. And, yeah. And, the leadership of the Republican Party in the House came to me and said, I don't know why, this is a beau geste in a way on your part, because we'll never hear that bill. You'll never even get it. I'll never get it in front of a committee. And they had, of course, taken a lot of money from First Data. The Chamber of Commerce was the same problem. And First Data, because I wouldn't stop, actually started a PAC with one purpose. It was to fund anybody that would run against me in a primary or in a general election. This was my own district, and this was a Republican organization. Well, needless to say, I mean, I kept doing it, but the Republican leadership would not even let me bring that bill to a committee. So that's just an example. There are many like that, but I'm telling you, it's a dual problem. Don't think of it as just being the Democrats, as is evidenced by what you saw today in the Senate.
All right.
Before we got him now. He kept out.
And believe me, I cannot be prouder of anything. It was great to be in Congress for 10 years and all that, but I'll tell you, I've never been more proud in my life than to be on the stage with these people, especially this guy right here.
Oh,
thank you. Thanks.
So everybody, Tom Tancredo and Sheriff David Clarke. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to bring out two other advisors to rebuild the wall. Please welcome my old boss at Breitbart, Stephen K. Bannon, and former Kansas State Secretary of State, Kris Kobach. Kris? Gentlemen. So, Steve, why don't you sort of launch off with, meeting Brian and getting involved. Why did you decide to get involved with Brian, and what have you learned from him?
Look, it's very simple. I heard about this guy. I'd known him for a number of years when he ran these media sites, and then when I heard he was that he was focused on actually helping President Trump and augmenting and helping to build the wall, how can I turn him down? He's an American hero.
Thank you. Thank you.
Michigan grows heroes, because I was honored a couple of years ago to get the Brian Terry Award, and Brian Terry and Brian Kolfage, both from the state of Michigan, are both American heroes.
Thank you.
So, Kris, you've become sort of this quick, deep study on the wall and the border security. Where is it that you think you can help Brian the most as you're working with We Build the Wall?
Well, I've been studying illegal immigration and working in this ever since the Bush administration, right after 9/11, when I served as John Ashcroft's chief advisor on immigration. That's back when the INS was part of the Justice Department. And all throughout, there have been many problems with the 9/11 terrorists coming in using tourist visa or temporary visitors for pleasure. And there's all kinds of loopholes in the system. We've got the refugee system being abused. We've got the visa lottery being abused. There's so many loopholes. But you can argue and debate all day long about those things. And those things do need to be changed. But the thing that absolutely, if you are going to stop, if the boat is sinking, the first thing you have to do is stop the water from coming in the boat, right? And the wall is absolutely essential to that. You can debate all day long about everything else, but the wall is essential. And just to put this in perspective, we're often told by talking heads who don't know what they're talking about that, we've got large sections of the border secure. 600 miles is secure. 800 miles is secure. That's baloney. The border is about 1,933 miles long, and of that, fewer than 100 miles has a barrier that will stop a pedestrian. Fewer than 100 miles. Yeah, we've got other stuff that'll stop vehicles for a few other 100 miles, but to stop pedestrians, less than 100 miles. You know how much Congress gave the president in terms of money and how many miles that'll build? 55 miles. 55. And if the president, and get this, the president declared the national emergency and he's asking for more money. If he gets every penny that he's asking for, that'll build another maybe 250 miles. So grand total of 300 miles. We still have about 1,500 miles wide open. If all of that happens, and that's a big if, we have to act, because the government acting alone is not enough. We the people have to act in concert with the government and help them out.
This is why what Brian did, who already gave so much to this country in defense of it in the Middle East, is so important. You have to comprehend what happened in Washington today. 12 Republicans humiliated the President of the United States on the core issue that brought people out in these states to support him. That shows you, by the way, and we're not a political operation. We're here to try to be a movement to help augment the president on building the wall. That's what Brian started this out to be. But what it is a call to action for everybody. You know, we just spent, and look, I served 7-8 years as a naval officer. My daughter's a West Point grad. She served in Iraq. We got skin in the game. No, we just spent $67 billion for 1 year in Afghanistan with 14,000 American troops and another 30,000 contractors, okay? And yet the same guys, the Marco Rubios and all these guys that vote this continual spending, could not have the president's back. If we're going to show Washington, D.C., and let's not call it a cute name like the swamp, this thing is so disgusting. What Trump's been up against, and this is the Republican Party. This is the establishment in Washington, D.C. If you want to stop that, then that's what Brian and that's what this wall movement is about. It's to augment and try to show Washington that they're concerned citizens, and those concerned citizens want to start to take action. They're tired of the happy talk. They're tired of going to rallies. They're tired of going to town halls. They actually want to see the wall built.
Brian, when you came to Washington, you met with members of the House Freedom Caucus. What did they tell you about the kick that they got from your effort?
Well, you know, right after this GoFundMe went viral, I received a call from Representative Jim Jordan and Warren Davidson, the guys in the Freedom Caucus, and they said that everyone who donated to this GoFundMe is why they voted to fund the border wall and pass the budget in that early December time. I don't remember the exact day. It was right before Christmas. So everyone who gave to that GoFundMe directly impacted the vote in the House. They said they were not going to vote for it until this GoFundMe came out because they saw the support of all you Americans who gave to that GoFundMe. Now,
it's called fear. The fear of God.
What this is about is, you know, they just gave Trump the finger today. The American people need to stand up and show them that they mean business. And we're going to keep this project going. We start building this wall next month. We're going to be breaking ground.
I know it wouldn't take too long for the Red House to break out in a Trump rally.
Yeah, I mean, we are breaking ground with or without the Democrats, the Republicans, and that's the beauty of this. But the one thing that keeps it going is the donations. It's the American people. We all pay taxes. You know, this is a private tax fund. You know what you're getting. This money is going directly to fund a wall on the southern border. We have been down on that border every single day nearly for the last 2 months, meeting with contractors, meeting with landowners, having our land surveyed, getting deals done to build on this land. You know, Kris has been magical at getting people to get these projects sealed up. I mean, we have landowners who aren't trying to lease us land. They're not trying to sell us the land. They're saying, I want you to build this dam wall on my property right now. And that's what we're doing. And they're doing it for free. They're giving us this land to build for free. They want us to build the wall on their land for free. And we're giving them this wall for their protection.
The beauty of this is that it's private. You know, you think about so many times in American history, our whole nation's history has been a combination of sometimes the government does something and we act together as the government, but a lot of the time American citizens act one by one, holding hands, doing what we need to do to get the job done. You go all the way back to the founding. It wasn't an organized army that repelled the British in so many of those battles. It was individual farmers saying, I haven't been sworn into any militia yet, but I'm grabbing my musket and I'm going. That's what we're doing here. This is individual, private American citizens.
Steve, today, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke announced for president, and he has said he will...
Bobby O'Rourke.
Bobby Francis.
I'm an Irishman. I know an Irishman when I see one. Bobby O'Rourke.
Bobby Francis. He said that he would actually take down the wall in El Paso. Just talk about the politics of how the left can get away with this, and he thinks this is a winning strategy.
Look, look, the battle lines are drawn. We know how 2020 is going to play out, but it's on. Listen, I would love to tell you, you can wave a magic wand, it's all going to be better. You're going to have a wall, you know, China's going to restructure their economy, that we're going to drive all the bad guys out of the Middle East. You know, there's so many veterans in here, and you know how tough it's going to be. If you gave me the choice between being governed by the first 100 people that came into this auditorium tonight or the 100 senators in the United States Senate, I would take the first 100 here. Look, we got work to do before President Trump and it has to worry about O'Rourke and Kamala Harris and this whole crowd. We got to take care of business on our side of the football. You got to remember, they did not have his back. This is his signature issue. This is what people like Brian Kolfage and Kobach and others, Sheriff Clarke, Brandon Darby, there's so many people, the Border Patrol, that have dedicated their lives for the rule of law and our sovereignty, okay? And this is no racism about this. This is to help black and Hispanic working class people that you're not flooded with cheap labor, okay? And it's to help those communities on the border. It's to help the border crisis in Michigan and Ohio about the opioids and about the crime, okay? This has nothing to do with race, nothing to do with gender, nothing to do with identity. But what we have to do now is we got to clean up our house. That is an insult to the President of the United States on his #1 issue.
And don't forget, in 2020, there's not just a presidential election. A third of those senators are up for re-election, including some of those Republicans who are voting the wrong way. So the Republican Party right now is the only party that's interested in building that wall. And so therefore, we need to make sure that we have real Republicans who are committed to having the president's back and building this wall.
Amen.
Don't forget that. That's happening in 2020 as well.
So, Kris, before we wrap up the One America hour here, did you have any sort of closing thoughts about where you think the challenges and opportunities are to get some action done right away on the border?
Well, I think the opportunity for We Build the Wall is that because we are a private organization and we're working with the consent of private landowners building on private land, we can do this a lot more cheaply than the federal government can. What a surprise there. We won't know until we've completed the first mile, but the initial projections are we can probably do it for about a quarter of the price that the federal government is doing it. So there's a huge opportunity there. Congress may be giving the president enough to build 55 miles, but we may be able to take a quarter of that amount and build the same amount. So it's really, really important to see that private action, once again in America, is every bit as effective, is more effective in many ways than public action.
Steve, please.
You know, we've got a long struggle ahead of us, but I'd like being on our side of the football. This is not going to be done in a day. It's not going to be done in a week. If you want to have sovereignty, if you want to have the rule of law, if you want to save your country, okay? Not only are you going to have to go out and organize and mobilize for these elections, you're going to have to start privately doing this too, because we understand the apparatus is not going to be there for you. Think about it. Today in England on Brexit, okay, they didn't give them their freedom there. They want to kick the ball down the field, right? Kick the can down. The same thing that happened in Washington, D.C. when they got in the president's face. This is never going to be easy, but I got to tell you what. If I got any people that I want to fight on their side, it's yours. It's yours. So I think we're going to do this. As long as we've got heroes like Brian to lead us, we'll be fine.
Brian, just sort of wrap up with us.
Yeah. You know, I'm just going to be short and sweet. You know, this ain't the end of the show. This is the end of the live show.
That's right. The show, it continues on gatewaypundit.com. Go ahead.
$5. We raised $2 million off $5. That $2 million could build us a mile. $5, that's all it takes.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the One America News broadcast. So thank you very much for joining us, guys. Have a big cheer and let the
Thank you,
people
One
at home
America.
hear you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, guys. One America.
We're not done, guys. We're not done.
I'm going to walk off.
Yeah, everybody, hang on.
We're not done.
I want to thank One America, but now Gateway Pundit, Jim Hoff and the great crew at Gateway Pundit is live streaming. We're going to do questions now. Jen, where are you? I think we have a mic over there to ask questions. We want to take questions from the audience. We're going to bring everybody back out.
Hey,
this is where it gets a little wild.
Get Joy up. Get Joy up here.
You want to have your toughest questions. Don't ask any softballs, right?
Go right here. You have questions.
You're going to have all the crew. Okay, can we identify yourself and ask the question?
Do we have enough?
Okay. We have, what's your name, ma'am? Joan, and where are you from? Farmington Hills, Michigan. And what's your question?
Yeah.
I want to say thanks,
locked
number
out
one,
of the
for all of
network.
you
So I
for
go
being
live
here.
with
But I want to know, after being on the
around
front
it.
lines and trying every way I can to get people riled up about this building the wall in the immigration system, what do I do tomorrow when I go home that might have a bigger impact? I need help.
Let's. Who wants to start with that? Sheriff Clarke, you want to start? And then anybody just jump in.
Sir, first of all, thank you for your effort. What we have to do, folks, and that's what part of this is, we have to build a critical mass of people. We got someone like that, someone like you over here. We got to build a critical mass, and we got to be organized, and that's what we're trying to do. So, and that's going to take a while. We have to build a critical mass of people so you aren't out there by yourself trying to fight this.
Go to webuildthewall.us and volunteer. Not only you can contribute, but you can also volunteer as well. So that's a good place to start.
So we have a people here from the Michigan Trump Republicans. They were.
I just want to hang on 1 second.
No problem.
The Angel Mom and Dads, I want to take 5 minutes, a couple of minutes. I want to introduce Mendoza and Steve and tell your stories. And this is what, and by the way, in Ohio, we had people coming out of the audience. Can you take a second and just give us your stories and why this is so important?
My name is Mary Ann Mendoza, and my son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, was killed on May 12, 2014 by a repeat illegal alien criminal who'd been allowed to stay in our country, was drunk, high on meth, drove over 35 miles the wrong way on 3 different freeways in Phoenix before slamming head-on into my son on his way home from work. That day forever changed my life, and I honestly thought I was the only person this had happened to until I started doing my research and realized there's over 4,000 Americans killed every year by illegal aliens in our country. And that does not include drug deaths from drugs pouring over our border. It does not include the hundreds of thousands of people that are affected by illegal alien crime every year, rape, assault, identity theft. This is out of control, and this is a national emergency. And you've got a group of people up here. You've got law enforcement, you've got former politicians, you've got journalists, you've got other angel families. We don't have a need to lie to you. We don't have an agenda, folks. We are the truth tellers, and we are the ones who are getting the message out to you of what is really happening in this country. You cannot believe the swamp in D.C. because none of them want you to know what's going on because they have allowed it to get to this point. So please do some independent research, find out what's happening, reach out to angel families. You can reach me at maryann@angelfamilies.com. I have statistics, I have information for you to get the word out to people. And please be a pivotal part of history, and donate. And let's show the politicians in D.C. we don't need them to provide security to our country. We can do it ourselves.
Hi, I'm Steve Ronnebeck. My son Grant is 21 years old. He was working the overnight shift at a Quick Trip in Mesa, Arizona. An illegal alien came in and wanted to buy cigarettes. He dropped a jar of change out on the counter. Grant went to start counting the change and evidently wasn't counting fast enough. This man said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" Grant said, "Hey, I need to count your change." The man pulled a gun. Grant did everything he was supposed to do, handed over the cigarettes, and as soon as he did, this man shot Grant point blank in the face. He didn't give him a chance. He then stepped around the counter, stepped over Grant's dead body, grabbed a couple more packs of cigarettes, stepped back over Grant, turned, looked at him just to make sure he was dead, and then exited the building. 2.5 years before he killed Grant, he had been arrested for him, his wife, and another man broke into a woman's home, held her captive naked for 10 days. They sexually assaulted her for that 10 days, filling her full of heroin. Scared her so bad she became an unreliable witness. This man was able to walk away with no prison time and was sentenced to 2 years probation. Okay? He was free to walk the streets and kill my son. And this is happening every day. This is our judicial system with some of these illegal aliens. They're not getting prosecuted properly. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it happens to one of you. It's going to happen. It's going to continue happening until we do something about it, until we stand up, and we stand up against the people like the 11 Republicans today that voted for the bill. These people are part of that swamp that needs to be drained. Mitt Romney, Rand Paul, they are part of that swamp that needs to be drained. Thank you.
Let's go to the next question.
So we have our sponsors here, the Michigan Trump Republicans. They just want to say a few words.
Hi, thanks for everything you're doing for us today. We really appreciate it. I am Jody, this is Tim Brown, and we're here on behalf of the Michigan Trump Republicans. And if you're looking for a way to get involved and you want to find some avenue to engage with like-minded people, we invite you to the Michigan Trump Republicans. You can find us at michigantrumprepublicans.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. And if you want to have, ladies, a Trumperware party, that's a Trumperware party. You can message us at the Michigan Trump Republicans on Facebook.
And I just want to say, President Trump, the Michigan Trump Republicans have your back.
What's your name, sir?
By the way, hang on one second. Raise hands, how many people are precinct men here? Are precinct men? Everybody in this room should be. Look around these patriots right here. You want to take over the Republican Party, go sign up, be a precinct man. Ask any one of the people that have their hands raised tonight. You want to do something, that's what you do. You want to take it over from the grassroots. Look at these heroes right here.
All right, what's your name, sir?
I'm Trucker Randy with Patriot Voice Radio.
Awesome, and what's your question?
2008, Jim Gilchrist was in Michigan, said we had 11 million illegals in our country then. Will you people start telling the American people the truth? How many illegal immigrants are truly in America?
I want to go to Kobach. Great question, brother. Kobach and then Brian.
The sad part is we don't know the number, but we know it's a long way north of 11 million. I think some of the estimates around 20 million are probably correct, but the amazing thing is the Department of Homeland Security has been saying it's 11 million for over 10 years now. Well, it's a lot higher than that right now. And you know what? There's another thing. Did you know we don't know the number of U.S. citizens and non-citizens living in this country? The last time the census question asked, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" was 1950, and President Trump, his administration, made a change. You might have read about this to put the question back on the census, so we know. What happened?
Hang on. They today on Capitol Hill lit up poor Secretary Ross, all because of a conversation that Kobach had, and then Kobach sent him an email, and they tortured this guy for hours. Why has that question got to be on the census?
That question has to be on the census for a huge number of reasons. If we don't know how many, we know the number of warm bodies living in America approximately, but if we don't know who's a citizen and who's a non-citizen, and most importantly, how many are illegal aliens, getting back to this question, then there are all kinds of things we don't know about. We don't know what percentage of eligible voters in Michigan are actually voting, because we don't know how many of you are actually eligible to vote. That's what the Justice Department said. There's another question, and this is a big debate that Congress ought to be having. Should illegal aliens be counted when you district congressional seats? I don't think so. If they're counted, that gives a state a perverse incentive to invite more illegal aliens in to beef up their numbers. Like, oh yeah, California's doing that, aren't they? So there are all kinds of reasons. Those are just two. There are about half a dozen reasons why we as a sovereign nation need to know how many citizens we have in our country.
Also, one other thing. It makes a determination as to how many federal dollars go back to those sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So if their populations are higher, more of your money is going to those areas to support people who shouldn't be in this country.
Amen. Brian, you want to jump in here? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, so one last thing. I was on a deal with a team of people 7-8 years ago. Had nothing to do with politics, about financing. I'm a former investment banker. A former president of Mexico in the meeting, unrelated to anything about immigration, said there's 30 million illegal aliens in this country. And he says everybody, all the senior people in Mexico know that. Wow. 30 million. Next question.
Okay, we have Angie here. Angie and Joy. She wants Joy Villa to answer her question.
Okay.
How
Hi,
can
Angie.
we as citizens make changes?
How can we as citizens make changes? That's a great question, Angie. I would say, first of all, being aware, educating yourself on the facts. Being here tonight is one of the first steps. Getting out, meeting other like-minded individuals. The thing is, what the left does is they mobilize each other. They get campaigns going, they use social media, they get their hashtags going, right? And so they seem bigger because they're louder. But there's actually more of us here than at many leftist places. Oh, yeah. We're the silent majority. There's like 60, 65 million of us who want this wall, who wanted this president, who voted this president in. So you may feel like you're a minority, but you're not, actually. You're the majority. So remember that. Educate yourself on the facts and speak up. And when somebody at school, how old are you, Angie? 13 in June. Give Angie a hand. What a smart cookie.
All right, next question, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
Hang on, just one second. I just got a question. I was lit up early. I did an interview with British television, and they were lighting me up. There's no crisis at the border. This is all made up. This is Trump's fantasy land. I have a question for the Terry family. The Border Patrol. Does the Border Patrol want to see a wall or not?
100%.
And why?
For their safety, for your safety, and for every other American's safety.
Brandon, how about the ICE agents, the ones that have to take care of the interior? What are their thoughts on a border wall?
Well, I think they think that we need a wall. We need physical barriers, and I think they want to see policy changes in addition to those physical barriers. Well, we can't do the policy changes. We have to vote for people to do it, and they're not doing what they said they do. But one thing we can do is build the wall.
Awesome. Jen, next question.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Norm Hughes, Michigan Conservative Union. We are the Michigan Trump Conservatives. So anyway, we're very concerned about border security being 300 miles or 300 feet from a border here. But of course, we want to help you build the wall, and we're hoping that maybe we can get one or more of your stars to come to our Michigan Conservative Political Action Conference in Holt in April. So this continues, and it continues, and we'll continue to fight here for you in Michigan. God bless.
Great. Thank you, sir. Just let us know. We'll be there. Just let us know when it is.
What's this sign say? The blue hat.
Real quick for Brian. Brian, of the 1,933 miles that you spoke of, the border, how much of that is privately owned? And is it any of it owned by the government? And number two, what are your plans going forward? If you could expound on that a little bit as far as where you're going to start and end up.
Yeah, well, a lot of that land, and it depends on what state. Texas, a lot of the land is privately owned. Arizona, a lot of the land is government owned. New Mexico, it's privately owned. So it kind of goes back and forth. What we're doing is we're working just with the private landowners, and we've identified land that can actually have a large impact and block off these trafficking routes. And we have very key locations where it's going to have a huge impact. And we're going to build this wall mile by mile, section by section, in these key locations for a fraction of what the government can do it for. And it's not going to be something that we're doing overnight. It's going to be a step. We're going to build one section, block off that trafficking route. We're going to move on to the next one, block off that trafficking route. And we're going to go down the line. We've been identifying every single landowner on the border right now. We've done something that no one's ever done in this country, is assemble a list of who owns each piece of property, every single property on the border. We're doing our due diligence to ensure that this project continues to move on, and we can continue having land to build on. And it's the landowners down there that we're talking to. There's a ton of them. And the thing is, we're not going to run out of land. We're going to run out of money before we run out of land. So those donations are very important to keep this project moving forward.
Real quickly, I want to go to Brandon and Sheriff Clarke for this. I said earlier that we're spending $67 billion in Afghanistan this year with 14,000 troops, 30,000 contractors. Brandon, I want to go to you first. You said, I think earlier, or you said in Ohio the other day, the problem in Ohio and in Michigan, the drugs, the human trafficking, the collapse of the social services, the crime. Is Mexico a failed narco state, and why do you say that?
Well, here's the deal. Mexico has 32 states. It used to be 31 in the federal district. Now they say 32 states, okay? In over half of those states, when there is a police action needed,
I have to ask one question that came from the internet.
in over half of those states, when there's a police... Jennifer.
Your mic.
Yeah. In over half of those states, when there's a police action needed, they can't send in their federales. They can't send in their police. It's not a law enforcement action. They have to send in their Marines. They have to send in armored convoys. That's not just Breitbart saying that. That's every major news outlet in the world saying that. That's a fact. Okay? They have to send in their Marines. Why do they have to send in their Marines? They have to send in their Marines because the cartels in control of those regions are paramilitary transnational criminal organizations. It's easier to say Mexican cartel, but they're actually paramilitary transnational criminal organizations. They have armored vehicles. They have Russian RPGs. They have every weapon imaginable, and no, those aren't all coming from the U.S. You're not getting Russian RPGs from us. You're getting them from Central American militaries, okay? So half of those countries are not even under the direct control of the central government of Mexico. Half of those states are not even under the central control. Several of those states that are not under central control are on the U.S.-Mexico border. Out of all of the states on our border, there are 3 that are really not under operational control of Mexico's federal government, and those 3 are immediately below the Rio Grande Valley sector of Texas. They're immediately below the Laredo sector of Texas and the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's 2 cartels called Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel, right? So Mexico is, in fact, much of Mexico is a failed narco state. If over 25 states in the United States were states that we didn't have control of and we had to send our Navy SEALs into in order to go and arrest somebody, I would say that that would make us a failed narco state.
Before I go to Sheriff Clarke, yes or no? President Trump said the other day to Breitbart, in an exclusive, in the Oval Office, that he wants to move to have several of these cartels, some of these cartels, designated as terrorist organizations. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's 100% a good thing, and here's why. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
What's being discussed right now is not the cartels being designated as foreign terror organizations. We're talking about 2 or 3 factions of 2 or 3 specific Mexican cartels who have allowed their violence to spill over and affect everyday citizens in their quest, in the cartel's quest to hold political power.
Steve, how many people, before we close, how many individuals in Mexico have been murdered by the cartels?
Last year, 2018, there were over 36,000 Mexican citizens killed.
36,000.
Now, here's another number for you. In Iraq, there was only 12,000. So that means that we would be safer bordering Iraq than we would Mexico.
Sheriff Clarke.
Yeah, quickly, I think Brandon did a great job. Just one other aspect of this. On our side, the U.S. border side, we're fighting with civilian law enforcement resources, which are being overwhelmed. And we're fighting, as Brandon indicated, basically paramilitary and national narcotics gangs, so on and so forth. And we're doing this with one hand tied behind our back. The Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They don't have the resources. Local law enforcement along the border, those sheriffs that care anyway, that aren't supporting sanctuary counties, they're being overwhelmed. We don't have all the resources that we need to do this. And like I said, I gave you that figure before when I said in fiscal year 2018, 330 pounds of fentanyl was taken in before it entered the United States. But think of the stuff that got in. And that 330 pounds, enough to kill 73 million Americans. So you see we're being overwhelmed, and we're kind of like playing patty cake when they're playing for keeps over there.
Kobach, real quickly, before we go back to questions, how much does the federal government and the state governments pay a year for social services that are not paid and helping people in Detroit, helping people in St. Louis, helping people in Cincinnati the other day, American citizens, right? What's the dollar amount on an annual basis we're paying for social services for people who are here illegally?
We are paying over $100 billion, just over $100 billion annually net in public benefits to illegal aliens. When I say net, I mean even if you take into account any property taxes, any sales taxes, any taxes that the illegal aliens pump into the system, which is minimal, we are still giving away in public benefits over $100 billion at the end of the calculation. That's money that could be going to U.S. citizens who are in need. That could be going to fix your roads. That could be going to make your schools better. Instead, the illegal aliens are soaking up those public benefit dollars. This shows how illegal immigration, although it affects the Angel families in a direct, horrific way, it affects all of us. Even if you haven't lost your job to an illegal alien, your tax dollars are being drained away because of illegal immigration.
Here's right before we go to the question, I'm going to go to Tancredo. With all that, with the cartels or terrorist organizations, we basically have a war on the border, worse than in Afghanistan, worse than the Middle East, where Brian, served his country and gave so much. We've got hundreds of billions of dollars going out. We've got families being killed. We've got the Border Patrol being overwhelmed. With all of those facts, I'm going to turn to Tancredo. How can politicians, particularly conservative Republican politicians, not be all over this issue?
Yeah, it's a great question because you think to yourself, look at just the thousands of people. Already we talked about the thousands of people that have been killed, directly killed by people who are here illegally, and we knew it and we didn't send them back, and so therefore, and the sanctuary cities, and think about the other thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands killed, and you say to yourself, how could any government understand what's happening, what they're doing to their own people? You would think that there's some sort of insanity here, but understand this, please. It's this issue of illegal immigration, it's far broader in its inception and the motivation behind it than anything we've actually even talked about here. please understand that that illegal immigration, massive immigration, both legal and illegal, of people who come into this country but don't want to be Americans, will not assimilate. This is a linchpin of liberal progressivism. It is what motivates them. It is a desire to end this system. They hate America. They hate the America that you and I love, okay? They hate the America that was founded that was brought into this world by the founders. They hate it, and they will do anything possible, and illegal immigration is that. So when we talk about building a wall, and we talk about all of the problems that we face, understand that there is this huge motivating factor, even beyond the money. It is a desire to end this system, our system. It is a desire to end the Western civilization and the basic tenets thereof. They hate it, and I will tell you, the wall, it's important for a lot of reasons. We've talked about it, but it's also important because it is a symbol. It's a symbol of sovereignty. When you talk about the wall, you're talking about not only sovereignty, and you help us, you're helping us not only stop the things we've talked about here, you're helping us make this republic survive.
Thank you.
I'd like to say hi to Jim Hoff at Gateway Pundit. We have some questions from them. I think this is a really good one. What can we do about the vote today and the 12 Republicans that turned their backs on President Trump?
I'll turn to Brian Kolfage and then Kobach. Brian, what do you say? The 12 guys that were traitors to President Trump.
Well, I think we gotta call them out. We gotta call them out. They have to be voted out. There's no excuse for that type of behavior. President Trump got those people elected, and it's a disgrace of what they're doing. And the American people, the voters, need to stand up, not accept it, call them out, and vote in new people. You have to take action.
Wasn't it a great idea for the president to endorse Mitt Romney?
No, can we just call out their names? Because
Let's go! Name them!
They are traitors. Let's name them. They turned against our POTUS, our president. They turned against the public. So we have Roy Blunt, Lamar Alexander, Susan Collins, Mike Lee, Jerry Moran, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Rob Portman, Mitt Romney, little Marco Rubio, Pat Toomey, and Roger Wicker. Traitors.
Traitors.
Oh, my.
So here's one other thing. If you ever get a chance to talk to those people who voted that way, you might ask them, well, you voted against this national emergency, but did you know that there are 31 national emergencies still in effect that prior presidents have declared? That's right. And did you know that among those national emergencies is a national emergency about a failed coup in Burundi? That was a national emergency. Yeah, it affected all of us, didn't it? Did you know that there was a national emergency about a voter fraud in the Belarus election a few years ago? There's a national emergency about Sudan and the transfer of power in Sudan. None of these things we've even heard of affect us in any way. But did those senators say, oh, wait a minute, they're abusing the law, we have to stop this national emergencies? No. It's only now when you have a real national emergency, the one we are all agitated about right here, you have a real national emergency and you have President Trump declaring it, only then do they say, oh, no, that's not
you know what they did to President Trump? They said, hey, we'll let you have your border national emergency if you sign a document and approve a law that you can never again call a national emergency. The Commander-in-Chief of the United States. Now, we're going to break some news here. We've got the Angel moms and dads and the Terrys are going to be in the Oval tomorrow when President Trump vetoes this bill. Now, real quickly, I want all four of you to answer real quickly. What are you going to tell him that you heard in Michigan that he should know?
Michigan is fighting for the president and fighting for the wall.
Being from Michigan,
We're fighting for the wall. We're with President Trump.
Jen, let's go to Jen. Let's go to another question.
Okay, we have Joe Castilia here. He is a student at Wayne State University. It's very liberal. So he has a question for us.
So, yeah.
Man, if Wayne State got liberal.
Yeah. Wayne State, it's one of the most liberal campuses in Michigan,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, closer? All right. So, I'm the president of Young Americans for Liberty at Wayne State University. So, I was honored to say the pledge tonight. Thank you all very much. This is a question for all of you. As the president, how can I bring this message to my campus where a lot of us, if we try to support things like this, are labeled as bigoted or racist when really we just care about the protection of our country? How do we get people over
How about we go to Joy and then Brian and then Darby?
How can you bring it to your campus? Is that's what you asked?
How do we argue this at our campus for people who are not willing to debate? And just
Well, that's the thing is I answer a lot of questions
Wear
like
Kevlar.
that. Yeah, definitely. Don't wear a Trump dress, okay? That might not be the best. Luckily, I didn't go to college. I'm not in college. Otherwise, I would have died, right? But I would say we had a conversation actually backstage about this, is they say all matter of ill will against you. I mean, I get the most racial slurs, you know, the worst misogynistic slurs. I'm going to find you, I'm going to kill your family, death threats, hate threats. I mean, it's crazy, right? All my social media, I have to go with security. It's bad. But I'll tell you one thing is when it's one-on-one, I'm always relatable. I relate it back to why I believe in something. Like, why do I believe in the president? Well, first of all, I'm a black American. My cousins under Obama, who I voted for when I was a liberal a couple years ago. Boo. They didn't get, yeah, you can boo that. Boo. Yeah, thank you. They didn't have jobs. I had cousins on welfare under Obama. He wanted to give out Obama phones. He didn't care about black Americans. Under Trump, guess what? Every black American in my family has a job. So you tell them stories like that, Joe. You tell them why
Amen.
it means so much to you. You make it personal, and you can't argue with personal results.
Brian?
I don't know how to back up that.
Darby?
Yeah, I want to say something to you about this. You know, if you're dealing with left of center people or liberals about the border, their brains frame it in a way that is detached from reality, right? So here's what I do. I make a humanitarian argument for border security, right? Border security doesn't just help our country. Border security helps the communities in northern Mexico. What we have going on right now at our border, as much as it's heinous what's happened with your brother, with Brian Terry, and with your son, and with your son, this is awful. You know what? It's also a situation where the President of the United States says 1/3 of migrant women are sexually assaulted on their journey up here. Excuse me, there's a child in the room. I get that. Guess what? Amnesty International says 60% of them go through that experience, right? Continuing this is not only bad for our country, but it's bad for those marginalized communities of color in Mexico. That's the argument to make with left of center people.
Okay, Jen, we got to be quick. Okay, here's what I want to do, because we're running out of time with our guys at Jim Hoff and Gateway Pundit. We got to do some rapid rounds, so quick questions, and then we'll get.
Question. My name is Linda, and I'm a state delegate, and I live in Dearborn, Michigan, and that was my granddaughter that stepped up. And all I wanted to do was thank you for every one of you coming out to Detroit, Michigan, and letting us, our voice being heard.
Right. Sir, what's your name?
John. Hello, everybody. My name's John.
Hey,
I'm a
John.
builder. Yeah.
You ready
I'm
to
a
build?
builder and a developer like Trump. I'm a land banker. I own 8,000 acres in California. I can donate all the sand to build
All
the
right.
wall.
There you go.
Sign
All
up,
the
John.
sand. Okay? That's just the sand.
We'll get your information.
If somebody I've been trying to get the message to Trump, the builders, The builders, they just want to make a profit.
Well, you came to the right place. We'll grab you afterwards. How's that sound?
We're talking 500,000 to 1 million acre feet of sand.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
Thanks,
you, brother.
What's your name, sir?
My name's Anthony, and I'm a deplorable.
By the way, Anthony, you didn't need
All
to
right,
tell
Anthony.
us that.
You got to make it quick.
Sorry about that. Okay, since these Democrats want to give illegal foreign nationals the right to interfere in American elections while pushing a Russian collusion delusion hoax on the American people, what more can we do to stop groups like George Soros, Open Border Society, and these Justice Democrats from destroying our republic from within?
We build the wall ourselves, like we're doing.
Kobach?
Well, you mentioned something else about stealing elections, too. Look, there are a lot of states that are waking up to this threat. And right now, did you know that only 4 states in America require that you prove your citizenship when you register to vote? Those are Kansas, the law I wrote there, Arizona, Alabama, and Georgia. Michigan needs to be one of those states that requires citizenship when you register to vote. So talk to your state representative wherever you live, and if you're watching on TV or on the internet, talk to your state representative. Say, we need proof of citizenship like the 4 states that have it when you register to vote.
Jen, let's go
Sheriff
back.
Clarke, will you run for president of the United States in 2024?
Yeah. I hear a floor nomination right there.
I appreciate the confidence. I'm humbled by that. I got a bigger fight right now. I don't want to get too far past 2020. Job one right now is to get Donald Trump reelected in 2020.
Amen.
All right, 2024 will take care of itself.
Hello. This is a question for whoever has the knowledge. Walls are only as strong as their weakest link. A lot of walls that look good above ground have potential to be tunneled under, even just breached by human hands digging underneath the wall. I'm wondering if the government's wall or your wall are planning to make underground fortifications.
It's a great question.
Deep one.
Kolfage?
With these walls we're building, they're going to have large footings, and they're concrete footings. These concrete footings go deep into the ground, 5 feet. No one's going to be digging under these walls. In addition, we're also going to have this other added security, which detects vibration if someone's digging, would alert Border Patrol. So by having these multifaceted tiered systems on our border security wall, we can stop these different things that are going on when people try to either climb over it, dig under it, or dig tunnels.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions. We got to rip.
Hi, my name is Beth Great, and I work in human trafficking, and I would really like to have that question addressed. But this woman is not convinced. And I think that we, as the party of freedom of speech and civility, need to give her an opportunity
Sure, yes,
to ask
yes.
her question.
Guys, hang on. Let her ask her question.
Stop. Let her talk.
Hold on. Let her talk. Let her ask her question. Just the question's got to be quick. Can't be a speech.
Hang on to the mic.
Ask your question, ma'am.
Hang on to the mic.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm a legal immigrant from Eastern Europe, and my question is to Mr. Brian Kolfage about the wall. So, lived under communism. First of all, they tried to stop me from asking the question because I don't believe Donald Trump wants to build a wall.
Okay,
or
fine.
Secure.
Just ask the question. We're good.
So in Eastern Europe, we don't have any wall. No walls. Borders were secured, sealed. Not even little mouse could get through.
Let me go.
Okay?
You can go, sir.
So the problem is not are we going to have a wall or not, is how are we going to enforce. So one of the elements of borders in Eastern Europe were landmines. Okay. The other one was the willing to shoot and kill. What are you going to do? We are going to have wall, but the people will be going through again, right?
Hang on, just hang on, ma'am. Hang on.
No, let her. No, I got it.
Thank you, but
Okay.
hold on.
Let her be heard.
And the second question is to Mr. Kris Kobach.
Hold it. Let's
me
get
answer
the
your
first
first
question.
question.
Let's get the first question answered first.
Enforcement. The wall itself is going to be a deterrent itself. We have border security agents who are on the ground who can respond. The wall itself is going to be the deterrent itself that funnels people to the front door. We're not using this for military. There's not going to be landmines. It's not going to be the wall that was, the things that were going on in Eastern Europe. This wall is going to be humane. We want to funnel people to immigrate to the United States legally and use the front door. We need to know who's coming into our country because a lot of people want to do harm to our people. There's a lot of people who want to see us dead, and we need to know who's coming in. And that's all it is. We need to know who's coming to our country, and we need to have accountability because we are a nation of laws.
Wall or no wall in Europe, open borders in Europe has been a disaster. Just ask Angela Merkel.
Well, and a wall may not stop everyone, but no wall will stop no one.
Amen.
And it's also
We have Peter from Shelby Township.
I don't know if I've missed this information, but did you say you have a program set up where just individuals can go and actually physically help build the wall?
Brian.
Not just money, but labor?
We're setting it up right now. You can go email our on our website, webuildthewall.us. Go to contact, shoot a message there. Say you want to volunteer. I think there might be a little volunteer section too.
Like you can go down there for a week and you're saying...
We're going to be setting it up. Once we start building, we're going to be setting up and getting what you are good at, what the American people are good at doing. If you want to just be feeding people, if you want to be doing just whatever it may be, this is going to be the people's wall. The people are getting involved, and we want the American citizens involved with building this wall.
Sheriff Clarke's going to run that program, so there's not going to be any holiday.
Hi, my name's Steve Perry, and I just want to make a statement. First off, my deepest condolences to all our angel families. To Brian, thank you, dear sir, for your service. And to Sheriff Clarke, I love you.
I love you back. I love you back. All of you.
Hi,
People are
my
great.
name's Judy, and I'm from Roseville, Michigan. And my heart was breaking today, like everybody else, with the way politicians have handled things in Washington. Now, I know for a fact that there are several organizations across the United States of America that follow Robert's law, and they call. If they're not happy with their board and their officers, they call a vote of no confidence. Vote of no confidence. All we need is Americans to rise up and call a vote of no confidence to the Congress that is trying to tear America apart.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Early. My question will be for Brandon. I'm Hispanic. I support President Trump 100%. And we need more people. We are not racist. We want protection. What I would like to ask you, we have been talking, how will we approach our community? Brandon, you are Hispanic?
No, I'm not. I'm half Sicilian and half Cajun.
Okay.
I'm Argentinian.
Yeah, that is good. We want to approach our community. We need to approach our community. And building this wall will be a step in the right direction to tell America, we are not racist, but come here legally. Open the doors, go through the doors, how that is the way you should come here. So how can we come to the Hispanic people? I'm all for that.
Steve, let me say something. The economic impact of illegal immigration, and this was mentioned earlier, hurts in the labor market in the United States. The people most likely to lose a job to an illegal alien are either African American or Hispanic American. And so if we stop that illegal labor coming in, we are protecting our own citizens, many of whom are Hispanic.
But I think what you're asking is a great question, and I think that we are doing that, and we are helping people in these communities have more jobs, but yet they're still calling us racist, a lot of them, and not wanting to talk to us. So what do you do? Is that what you're asking? Right. So what I've found in border communities that are largely Hispanic and in Mexico, I go into Mexico every month. What I found is I just tell their stories. I talk, there are families that we don't call angel families, but there are families in border communities who have lost loved ones to people in this country illegally. They have lost loved ones to cartels. And journalists there are afraid to write about cartels. So if you provide them a mechanism and you tell their story and their suffering, they're going to start to realize that you're not against them at all. You're simply trying to secure the border, not only for your communities, but also for theirs.
From Michigan, yep. We got time for 3 more questions. We got to rip. Let's go.
Hey, I'm Mike from Novi. I want to thank you all for being here. God bless you. God bless America. And Brian, I've been following you for a long time. You've involved in quite the patriot for the cause and Donald Trump and everything else in this wall. Just wanted to remember Angel Moms. Condolences to you all. We had our own Angel Moms here in Michigan. There's a young man from Walled Lake Western High School in Wixom, Michigan that was killed by an illegal alien, Justin Lee. So it's not, just in Arizona and California. It's throughout the United States. So the wall will affect the security of the whole nation under God. So thanks for
brother.
all you're doing.
Thanks.
My name is Mike, and I spent 16 years serving in the Navy. Part of my job, thank you. Part of my job was one of the more complex jobs in the Navy, involved nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare defense procedures for seagoing platforms. And my question is, since we are not doing enough as a nation to ensure that highly dangerous drug substances that would make fentanyl look like a joke are apparently being allowed not only to come through the wall, but also through the mail system, and that those precursor substances are being supplied to the Sinaloa cartel as well as to Chinese drug gangs in Vancouver, and is being transited all the way east to Toronto, which obviously is an issue. Those substances are so highly dangerous that they make...
What's your question, sir?
I'm going to get to it in a minute. It's very important that people understand what I'm saying. This drug substance that I'm talking about is so highly dangerous that as much as a grain of sand will kill a human being. Okay? These substances are so dangerous that the mail facilities at John F. Kennedy Airport and in Los Angeles, the inspectors there...
Is they're coming through the border?
Well,
I got to get to that question.
It is coming through the border.
Just give me the question.
So the question is...
I'm in the Navy.
Okay.
Give me the question.
The question is...
Shipmate.
Are we going to put this whole project into hyperdrive before we have a crisis in this country where someone can take this substance that I'm referring to and create a crisis nightmare that will make 9/11 or anything else that's ever happened in this country look like a joke?
Thanks, brother.
So you're probably speaking of carfentanil, am I correct? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to build the wall. Is the wall going to stop everything? No. Are some people going to build a tunnel under the wall? They're going to try. Are we going to do a robust system of informants in Mexico and in the cartels in order to try to determine where those tunnels are? Yes, we are. But here's the deal. We're going to start by building that barrier, and then you stick with us. You stick with us, because in the end, the barrier isn't the end goal. The wall isn't the end goal. The wall is the chemotherapy that we need because we have cancer.
Amen.
The cancer is Mexican cartels. And if you stick with us as we progress as an organization, it's going to be build the wall, secure the border, and stop Mexican cartels. And we have a plan, and we're going to be announcing that plan. I tell you what, you are not powerless. How many of people in this room have anybody in their family addicted to opiates or know anybody? Okay, there's a lot of arms out here, and that means half of you who do have that aren't going to raise your hands. I have that in my family. Let me tell you something. Just like you're not powerless about illegal immigration and you're not powerless about border security barriers and the wall, you're not powerless about drug dealers getting drugs from Mexican cartels and pumping it into our system and to our nation. Over time, we are going to work together, and you can get involved in doing something about this problem in a way that is safe for you and a hell of a lot less scary than what me and my friends do.
Steve, we have a brave little girl up here. Her
Right.
name is Madeline. She's 12 and in 6th grade. Awesome. What's your question, honey?
Well, some of my friends, they believe that the wall isn't necessary and that it's racist in a way, and I want to know how to tell them that it's really not, and I want to know how to figure out how to tell them without seeming like I'm prying in. Because a lot of our teachers, not a lot, but one in specific, is very democratic, and they're kind of poisoning us, and I want to know how I can kind of tell them the right truth.
Young lady, what is your name?
Question. Awesome
Hold on,
question.
hold on, hold on.
Great
Wait,
question.
that bravery right there is the future of this country, ladies and gentlemen.
Young lady, what is your name?
Right there. Hey, and it's not a couple of the teachers, it's almost all of
Madeline.
them, okay?
Madeline, how old are you, Madeline?
She's 12.
12? All right, my little girl's 10. So, hi, Madeline.
Hi.
It's so great that you came up here and asked this question. What I would say is when you're talking to someone who's a Democrat or who's left of center or liberal, a lot of those people really think the wall is racist. They think that securing the border is racist. They think that because they lack information. That's right. That's the situation. So what I would do is I would present the humanitarian argument for border security. I would do research, and which you can do on the internet very easily. And I would look at what are the consequences to having an unsecured border to communities in northern Mexico. What are the consequences to the people coming from Central America? Just like it's bad for us, it's also bad for them as a whole. It's bad for the nations they come from. And that's probably what I would focus on if you're dealing with a Democrat.
Can I ask one thing to Madeline real quick? Why do you support the wall?
Because I know that there are people who are losing their jobs, and all of their money, their tax money, is going to these people who haven't worked for us. And they're saying that they will, but they don't. And they're lying to us. And every time that they come in here illegally, they could kill someone, and they don't get the repercussions that someone who is actually a citizen would get.
Tell your students that. Tell your classmates exactly what you said here.
I think this little girl is smarter than most of our politicians.
Can we send Madeline to Congress?
Madeline, you're awesome.
Hey, Madeline.
12 years old.
Hey, Madeline. The numbers are on your side. So the other thing is, just start telling them some of the things you heard on the stage tonight. I have a daughter who's 14, and she said, Dad, we've got to come up with a debate case to do in our little debate league. And I said, why don't you debate the wall? See if they can come up with any arguments against you. They can't come up with any arguments because there are no facts on the other side. So the bottom line is, when you start talking to them, they're going to realize, hey, Madeline knows what she's talking about. I don't have any numbers to rebut hers. You are right. And the one last thing, you know what a racist is today? It's a conservative who's winning an argument.
Hey, Madeline. Madeline, the one thing you have to remember is illegal alien is not a race. Illegal alien is a status. So there is no racism involved.
Amen.
That's right.
Yeah, it can be anyone. I don't care if you're white, black, blue, purple. It doesn't really matter at this point, because if you're entering into a country that you don't belong in and that you're not a citizen in, no matter who you are, no matter what your status is in your country, you're still illegal. It doesn't matter.
Amen.
This little girl is so smart.
She needs to run against
I wish
Ocasio-Cortez.
we had you in the West Wing right now. President Trump needs some help.
I want to add
Okay,
something.
what we're going to do is...
I want to add one more thing. Madeline, if an argument is, if an American snuck into Mexico, they would throw us into jail so fast, it would be ridiculous. If Americans snuck into any other country, they would throw us in jail. It's no different. If we snuck into India, if we snuck into the UK, if we snuck into an Islamic nation, they would throw us in prison.
As we should be.
Yeah.
America's the only country that doesn't enforce that law.
If we...
Okay, I want to start at the end. We got to wrap up. I want to start with the Terrys real quickly. Give us a summary of what the people tonight in Michigan, these good folks, should take away. We're going to go all down, then we're going to finish with Brian. Oh, can you just give a summary for the people in Michigan tonight of what your feelings are? We're going to summarize with everybody.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for coming out here. Second of all, we want agents to come home at night. Agents that got kids. You know what? They got kids. Their kids got to have a dad or a mother. So, you know what? These agents need to come home. They need that protection as a piece of equipment. Thank you.
I want to thank each one of you for coming out and supporting us. You know, this is all about you. This isn't just about our families and who's up here. This is about you, the everyday citizens of Michigan. And thank you for inviting us here to be with you. We need your help. We need you to go to webuildthewall.us. We need you to get your friends and your family to start understanding why we're fighting. We're fighting for our children, and we're fighting for your children. We don't want this to happen to any one of you. The destruction in my family alone, I could never wish that on any one of you.
I know this. I know that Brandon did not deserve to have his life snuffed out and his dreams ripped out from underneath him, only to have politicians fighting for the dreams of people who are illegally present in our country. We have politicians. Think about this, like we were just saying. How could you go into any other country, have a politician fight for you and give you everything free, and then when you kill one of their citizens, have them provide sanctuary for you from their laws? This wouldn't happen in any other country, and it's happening here. And I swore I would never let my son's voice be silenced. I won't. He fought for his community in Arizona, and I'm fighting for America.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I love all of you. You folks have inspired me, and everywhere I go, all across this country, I meet great Americans like yourself. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth. I believe that, as Ronald Reagan said it was. Here's the thing. There's no finish line to this fight. If you're looking for a finish line, like we'll finally get there, we thought 2016 was the finish line. That was just the start of this fight. Do not tire. Part of what the left is counting on is for us to get discouraged, throw up our hands, and walk away. The more we continue to fight and stay energized and support this president, President Trump, they will become discouraged. God bless you, and may God continue to bless these United States of America.
I want to leave you with 2 words. If you don't remember any of the facts and figures we talked about tonight, remember these 2 words: force multiplier. That's what a wall is. Even if we don't fill that 1,500 miles, that'll still be wide open if the president gets all of his money to build. Even if we still have 1,000 miles left over 5 years from now, the miles that we build, each mile is a force multiplier. And you take the Border Patrol agents that are out there and you make them more effective. And each agent has more miles he can effectively control when the wall is helping him control that 5 miles, that 10 miles. That's what we're doing. We don't have to fill every inch of that border, but every mile that we build makes our border agents safer and stronger. It's a force multiplier.
Yeah, just remember, folks, building a wall, building a physical barrier is a necessary part of a complex solution. Right? A multi-tiered solution. It's not an easy problem. The wall doesn't solve everything, but it helps solve a lot, and there's a lot more we need to do. But don't let anyone tell you that we don't need a physical barrier between us and a nation that is largely a failed narco state. Don't let anyone tell you it's racist to want a physical barrier that will work between us and a nation that is largely a failed narco state controlled by cartels. Don't let anyone tell you that. You fight back because, like Kris said, the facts are on your side. They do work, walls do work, and we are going to build that wall.
Joy, go ahead.
I'm going to say shortly is that a lot of you guys probably are on social media. Maybe you're not. Maybe you don't speak up in your community. Maybe you're hidden, a closeted conservative like I was for a long time. Speak up. Part of this fight is uniting our voices. Show up at places like this. Go to webuildthewall.us. Donate your money, donate your time, and speak up, because you're not alone in this. And that's why we come out here, to let you know you are not alone. From 10, 12 years old to 100 years old. There's many of us, and we're multiplying.
if you confront any elected official, and I hope you do, elected officials who vote for sanctuary cities, elected officials who refuse to secure the borders, just remember this, and you can tell them this, because I believe it is absolutely provable. You can say, if you continue to do this, do you understand that every single American that is killed by someone who has come across that border illegally and come into an area that is a sanctuary city, and you've agreed to that, you voted for it, you, sir, are culpable. You, sir, have blood on your hands. And they are. And remember also, please remember also, that it is not just the issue of jobs or even the rule of law or anything else that we are fighting for here. It is for our republic. It is this illegal immigration phenomena is a dagger pointed at the heart of our republic. Help us preserve it.
We're going to close now with our leader, Brian, is going to give us a closing statement to inspire us to go forward.
Well, you know, a lot of people ask me, like, how did we get here today? How did I get here in this position? I'm just one person, and I tell you, I'm just one person. I traveled the world in the Air Force. I've seen what oppression is. I've seen what happens to countries when they fail. I've seen it. I've seen the children coming up to me, running, begging for water when I was 19 years old. Tattered clothes, had nothing. And that affected me. And here I am today. I came home now, missing 3 limbs. I know what freedom is like to be stripped from you. And instantly, I felt like it was stripped from me, losing my limbs. The one lesson that I learned from losing my limbs is that no matter what you face, you can overcome it, and it's not impossible. Thank you. The one thing that got me here today was not being afraid to just put myself out there. And it's something that I've learned over time is going to school, getting a degree, I had to put myself out there. With this, I had to put myself out there. It's like, I don't like the spotlight. I don't like it. I put myself out there, and here I am today. I thought I was just one person who can make a difference, just one person. How many people donated to that GoFundMe in this crowd? Raise your hands if you donated. All of you guys took action from me just being one person. Close to 400,000 people have donated to that project now. 400,000. There's 63 million voters who voted for President Trump. I need all of you guys to be my army. You know, I came home missing these limbs, and I'm going to still continue fighting for this nation. I want to fight for my children and your children, because I don't want my children, who are 5 and 3 now, to grow up and not have the things that we have today. And that's why I'm fighting. But I can't continue fighting unless every one of you in this crowd go home, follow us on social media, be my warrior, be my voice, be the voice of everyone on this stage, and just get out in the community and tell everyone what they need to do. You know, we're going to build this wall privately. The American people come together in times of need, like Sheriff Clarke said. And we're going to come together on this wall regardless of what our politicians are doing, and we're going to build it, and we break ground next month, and just get out there and fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michigan. Thank you, Gateway Pundit. Thank you, One America. Thank you, Jim Hoff. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Bannon.
Huh?
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Steve Bannon.
Bannon.
Steve Bannon.
Mr. Steve Bannon, let me get a question or two with you. Joe DeMarco from the No BS.
Hey. All right, thanks for coming out.